Tactical Production Studio, welcome to Tactical Tuesday, streaming live on YouTube and simulcasting as always on GunChannels.com. To check out our entire lineup of videos, podcasts, and live shows, please visit our website, www.ghosttacticalproductions.com.
What is going on, my Ghost Squad? Welcome to Tactical Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, February 26, 2019. We are live as always on YouTube and simulcasting as always over on GunChannels.com. If you guys are not familiar with GunChannels.com by now, then we really can't help you. So crawl out from under the rock in which you live and go check out this link out there, guys. It's a great pro-gun Second Amendment community started by G-Webs going on 6 years ago. You can always find someone in the 24-hour lobby chat. There's always going to be someone there to have a discussion with, ask questions to, and just hang around fellow like-minded people. So go check out GunChannels.com. We've got a good show tonight. Speaking of Gun Channels, let's go say hey over there. We've got G-Webs over there, Sean Baines over there, DT Pfeiffer's over there. Let's do a quick shout-out over here on the YouTube side, and we'll get kicking. We got Midnight Range TM out there, Ozzy Osbourne, Gun Loving Grandpa Stanley, Guitar Man Pete. What's up, Pete? Stealth Hunters out there. Let's see here. Jason Stewart's out there. Locals out there. Might miss some people. Jen Davis, hello there. Hello. Evening, she says. HBO Matt's out there. Ashley, what's going on? My homegirl Ashley at GunStreamer. What's up, Ashley? You got Gun Snobs out there. Joe Ziola's out there. So we're going to wait while the notifications come on in, and we're going to say hello to our esteemed panel over there from South Carolina. We've got the one who strikes at night. What's up, Nice Strike?
Hey, thanks for the invite. It's been a while.
It has been a while, and yeah.
What's it been like, a few hours?
Yeah, a couple hours, something like that, yeah. Also from the Palmetto State, we've got Magic Mike. What's up, Mike? And he is muted.
Oh man, my bad. I'm sorry about that. But
you're trying to do jazz hands. Wrong damn show, bro.
Oh, you sure? I'm confused these days. You know how it goes. But
do I look like a big old black guy with a mohawk?
Everybody looks the same. The days all fade together.
That's right.
The gold chains might have a resemblance.
All right. What have you been up to? Everything good?
Yeah, everything's good. Just going around doing my usual gun stuff. I got to play catch up because I'm a little behind, and I have to knock out next month's drill of the month either today or tomorrow. And I wanted to do it today, but I didn't have time to do it. So hopefully tomorrow.
There you go. And from Arizona, the Godfather himself. What's up, G? How are you?
Good. Thanks for the invite.
Not a problem. It's been a long time since I've talked to you. It's been about a couple hours as well. So we'll continue the great conversation we had when you were doing a live of the Congress floor resolution. I don't even know what the hell they did today. They wasted taxpayers' money today is what they did, honestly. So whatever. And from the great state of Texas, my home state, the tactical virus himself. What's up, Clover Tack?
Hey, good to be here.
Everything going good? Sounds like you got some internet issues, you said, maybe?
Yeah, it's been raining really, really hard all day. And
yeah,
my internet's been being kind of weird.
Well, it's going to... hopefully you're going to get some relief. Next week, it rained. We got 10 inches of rain in about a 3-day span last week. It's nice today, but then it's supposed to get down to highs of like 34 starting Saturday for a week straight. So winter is not gone yet.
Nope.
Let's see here. Off the X is out there. Mad Sexy Outsider. Michael Sands is out there. Gunpowder Beauty. What's up, Jesse? Well, guys, we're going to start talking a little bit about some of the legislation that we've all heard about on the federal side and talk about really kind of what this means and kind of decipher maybe what some of these bills really are, what they're really trying to go after. And we all know that bills can be very vague, and we know that there's always some ulterior meanings in what they're trying to push through without really saying it. So we spent the last couple of days on different panels and really kind of deciphering exactly what the hell is going on. And I don't know if we're going to have all the answers for you, but we're going to give you our opinions. And if you've got questions out there or comments for us, please go ahead in the YouTube chat or the Gun Channels chat. Please go ahead and tag us and let us know what your questions or comments are. Excuse me. You can email them always to live@ghosttactical.us, or you can text it to 530-364-4678, and we will get those questions answered as quickly as we can. I'm not going to say they're going to be correct, but we will get them answered in the best way that we can. So basically what has happened is we all know about HR 8 and HR 1112. And G had a great chat last night, did a thing yesterday as well, and we were talking about it. And then today, Congress actually had it on the floor, not necessarily to vote on the bill itself, but to vote to have a vote and then to vote to accept the bill. But what they did today out of committee.
And a vote to make a resolution.
Yep, I got it. But what they did today was actually form a new bill that combined the two. So it is now HR 1145. And basically, HR 8, the original text of it, was the universal background check. And this is basically saying that everyone in a commercial transfer has to go through a 4473, and the only people that are exempt from having to do that under this law would be immediate family, wife, husband, son, daughter, I think uncle and cousins, uncle, aunts, cousins. So outside of your immediate family, there will be no more private sales. They will try to make every commercial transfer, or actually every transfer, go through a universal background check. And then you had HR 1112. And what this one was basically going to try to do, or it is going to try to do, is it's going to sit there and say, when you go through the background check in the NICS system, you used to have up to 3 days for them to respond. If they didn't respond after 3 days, the transaction automatically went through, so you were good to go. Now they're moving that to 10 days. Okay. The problem that we're going to have is all of these bills and the way they're written are going to be meaning many more things than just what are on paper, or could mean a lot more things. So we're going to discuss all that tonight. Please let me know your comments out there. Let's try to keep it civil out there. I have no problem having a discussion, but let's try to stay on topic out there in the chat. And we're going to start through real quick. We're going to start with Clover. If your internet is working, what are your initial thoughts? And when you guys hear me say 1145, that's going to mean all of this into one. But you can start with 8, 11, 12, or all wrapped into one. But what are your initial thoughts about these bills, Clover?
I don't know. Initial thoughts. That's a good question. I mean, initially,
I asked the good questions.
Yeah, I know. Initially, I don't know. I mean, this might
Actually,
not be
145, not 1145. I'm sorry.
It might not be what anybody was looking for, but initially, what goes through my mind is, I'm thinking about the gridlock, and I'm thinking about, you can grandstand and do whatever you want, I guess, at this point with Congress, but I don't know. I don't see anything happening, and this is just another thing I don't see happening. That doesn't mean we just sit by, obviously. But, I don't see any way it gets through the Senate. I don't see Trump signing on to it, and I don't see getting around it, even if he doesn't. So, that being said, what are my thoughts? That's my thoughts on the whole thing. Now, the thoughts on the motive behind it and things like that. Same old thing that they've been going for years. They don't want private sales, and ultimately, in order to enforce that, there has to be a registry. We know that. So, maybe some type of a backdoor deal to push that through. It's the same old song and dance that we've heard for a long time. And I find it weird though. Where does the question? I guess I'm going to throw you a question. Where does the assault weapons stuff and all that they've been, that garbage that's been coming out of their mouth? Where's all that at this particular point? Why is that not?
That's a real good question, and we were discussing last night. I don't know with G. I don't know if we were off air or not, But I mean, we have to give the anti-gunners. I'm not going to call them Democrats. I'm not going to call them liberals because it's not just Democrats and liberals. These are people, the anti-gunners. I would say the anti-gunner legislators have gotten a little bit smarter. I mean, we honestly have to admit that they've gotten a little smarter since 2013. They have decided not to go for the home run swing on one pitch, and they are systematically, bit by bit, trying to get legislation pushed through. So I don't think that, I mean, I might be wrong, and this is just my opinion. I don't think we're going to see another assault weapons ban like 94. I don't think we're going to see it come out and say this is going to be an assault weapons ban against the AR-15 or whatever. I think what you're going to do is you're going to start seeing them propose legislation that is not cryptid to where you could honestly say that this is an assault weapons ban, but the material and the words in these bills will ultimately, if you put all of these bills together, they probably got 20 something, I bet, at least. And if you put all of them together, you're going to start seeing them mold into what is going to be could be very, very dangerous. So I don't think that the assault weapons is going to come out and say it's assault weapons ban. I think you're going to start seeing bits and pieces in different bills that all add up to an attack on assault weapons, right. Or I'm going to say AR-15. I'm not using assault weapons. I'm going to say AR-15s and semi-automatic weapons. That's my opinion.
Well, and that's really what we've got to watch too. We've seen how easily they combined everything, and they were also talking on the floor today about, the lady from Arizona got on there about her amendment or whatever, and they go, "Oh, we've already addressed that in the language and this, that, and the other." And I'm thinking, whoa, wait a minute. So what does this bill look like again? So if they're in there just willy-nilly changing things on the fly and combining stuff and all this other, we really got to be careful regardless of what bill it is at what gets snuck in, because they put that Fix Nix mess in the omnibus, right? Last session.
Yeah, the omnibus. Yep.
So
yeah, they really I don't know if they really snuck it in. I mean, but they did. They snuck it in the omnibus to where there was really no way that we could not sign that, And you're really talking about fixing a system that has failed. And then the comments have been made. Instead of trying to do all this stuff, why don't you fix the Nix system as it is? It's the background, a universal background check. Unfortunately, I had to say this, but it wouldn't have stopped any of the tragedies that have happened in the last year. Not one. All of those guns were bought legally, understanding that there are evil people, and evil people are not evil until they turn evil. So what they're trying to do is say, basically, in my eyes, they're trying to say that everyone who owns a gun is evil or will turn into evil people. So they're trying to take the guns away. And I think that they're systematically and incrementally going to try to deface what we think the Second Amendment is. Now, the question is it going to work? And I'll bring G in on this one. G, if it passes the House, and Clover kind of touched on what he thought, but do you think these two bills will get legs in the Senate or at the Oval Office?
Oh yeah, sure thing. Civil War. Start buying AR-15 lowers.
I'm sorry?
I think it's time to start buying AR-15 lowers. This is pretty much eventual Civil War.
Eventual Civil War. Oh, we got G talking Civil War now. Mike, what about you? What are your initial thoughts on the two bills that were proposed?
To me, what it sounds like, honestly, is our rights are being traded off with backroom deals. So, okay, I'll put this wording in if you say you're willing to do this with whatever, healthcare, nuclear bombs, whatever. It's not right. It's not fair. But at the same time, what everybody needs to understand is that if your Second Amendment right is taken away and you can't own firearms, that's going to be a direct reflection of what's going to take place with the First Amendment right. And then we're going to have pandemonium all across the board, and it's going to get ugly.
So you're thinking possibly that this could be something much more than just an attack on the Second Amendment.
Yes, it's going to be the big picture. The big picture is control for everything.
Okay. Night Strike, what are your initial thoughts before we jump into all this? Earth to Night Strike. You know, he asked you to he asked for a link, and then he just kind of goes away. So
earlier he said infringements are okay with him.
Infringements are okay, so he shall be infringed now.
Yeah. So this one, I don't disagree with what Clover was saying. It's interesting what Mike said. I'd have to absorb that one a little bit more. But I think that there's no reason to sit back and because we think the Senate or this might not get past the Senate, and then whatever your thoughts are on Trump or whether it's even going to get to Trump. But it's also an exercise, right? So we can pay attention to this and again have seats and watch this happen, or we can participate in all this, right? And you know, so if we use these as efforts to experiment, I guess, and practice getting the word out and working together and reaching our representatives, then all that's for the greater good. Because if we consider this one not the final cut or a no-brainer for them or a slice to the jugular, how do we expect to be ready to fight then? We go to the range and practice, we should be considering this practice.
I agree with that 100%. I think that we saw what could happen in 2013, and that they saw what could happen when we kind of get together and say, not on my watch, or whatever you want to, cliche you want to throw out there. And it's taken them 6 years basically to really try to come back at us pretty hard. And you're right. Maybe they knew that they couldn't get anything done until now, or what, but I think a lot of this is, you're right, we have to practice on every single one of these bills, because it's not just Second Amendment. If they're willing to try to take what is Second Amendment, then what else are they able or willing to try to take away? So this is not just a Second Amendment. Obviously that's where our heads are right now. That's where we are as a community, but this is much bigger. And we were getting into someone, I can't remember who it was on your chat earlier, G. But I was telling him, I said, this, we may not want to hear this, but the Second Amendment in the grand scheme of our country is a small part of what's going on with our country right now. Now, it's obviously big in our eyes and our minds, because that's where we are and that's what we enjoy doing and talking about. But in the grand scheme of things, the Second Amendment, as far as the agendas of government, is a small part of it. So there are a lot of things going on. Now, on top of what they were talking about today with HR 8 and HR 1112, they had another one that was trying to basically say that Trump had no right to call the state of emergency to get his wall built. So we're talking, Congress is not just focusing on HR 8 and HR 1112. It is a lot of things that are going on. And we have to not just worry about what's going on with our guns, but worry about what's going on in our country, because there are a lot of things out there that our country has issues with right now, and not all of them are good. So we have to really kind of stay focused on the big picture, as Mike like to say, the end game, the big picture. I want to bring G in real quick and talk to you about what happened today. And do you want to talk about the guy from Maryland and a lot of the rhetoric and the word usage that was being used, or Clover was there as well? Either one of you guys want to talk about some of the wording that was used on the House floor today that seemed to upset and piss off a lot of people?
Well, I can understand why you call them me, because Clover doesn't words good like me does. So,
yeah, he doesn't words good? Okay.
No. So, I'd have to go back and watch, because it was crazy. It was frustrating. It was I believe insightful, right? It was designed to incite, and wow, it was just a flood, like a waterfall of anti catchphrases and buzzwords, and it was difficult to, they literally used all of them. You'd have to almost go through and pause and talk about it, and like I said, I was suggesting while we were watching it, it's like, this is ideal for somebody who wants to have a discussion. Take a chunk of this, almost any 5 minutes from anywhere in there, and just play it on this thing and pause and talk about the implications. How what was it that was it Yankee, I think, who was using this as a way to perceive it? But these people are either complete idiots or they think we're complete idiots. Because there's one thing, to have the jargon wrong or to not be, fluent in a area of interest, but they are incorrect in very precise ways, if that makes sense. They know exactly what to say incorrectly to incite the most reaction. And there's no way that that's done by accident over and over and over again. So I think there's lots of opportunity there and lots of benefit from going in and looking at the words they chose and the way that they decided to, what they used to justify their reasoning for these quote unquote, tightening restrictions. I didn't ask me about it, but something else that I thought was interesting was the guy that was leading it today he never even approached the concept that the guy yesterday was leading with. The guy yesterday was using a stick approach, and every time someone from the pro freedom or anti-regulation side would suggest, hey, you can't offer a firearm to someone who's being domestically abused, and they'd say, well, we want to get rid of all semi-automatics and all magazines, so you should be happy that we offered this. No more loopholes. And then somebody would say, well, what if someone's suicidal? They can't even legally hand their guns off to a friend who might take those guns because they're not feeling right and they don't want to have the guns in the house. That would be illegal for them to hand them to a friend to save their own lives like that. And they go, oh, well, our wording says that that's okay. And then they'd say, well, clarify that, because it says like imminent threat. Like, if you're just not feeling good and you want your friend to take your guns, that's not who's determining when that's okay and who's, that's an okay purchase or a transfer to not go through. Anyway, they would dismiss all of that as well. With, again, like, well, you should be happy that we're not getting rid of some autos and magazines, so no more loopholes. And then instead of that threat, that club yesterday, today they were just saying how all the proposed amendments yesterday were clutter and superfluous, whatever the word is, and designed to cause confusion and add loopholes. So it was interesting, the contrast between yesterday and today and their chair people.
It is. Clover, you were there today when we were listening, and to me, it sounded like G said, it was straight out of the playbook. It was problematic for me. I want to have you comment on this and let me know what your thoughts are. But for me, and I want to bring up a point what G was just talking about, is they were blatantly incorrect, and it was strategically incorrect, because I think that they knew that people weren't going to call them on their mistakes, and especially in the court of public opinion and the media are not going to call them on their mistakes. So the people that don't know the facts, that heard today's rambling, are going to assume that they're real and they're right and they're correct.
Right.
And I know that that's a ploy and that's a strategy that they use. But I want to get your opinion on, when you hear them blatantly misrepresent the facts, is that going to be something that is helpful down the road, or is this something that they are just ignorant about?
I don't know at this point. I think a large percentage of people across the country, and it's not the majority, I don't think, unfortunately, yet, is getting to a point that they really don't listen to what any of these yahoos say. Because you're exactly right. You sit there and you listen to what we did today, and it's infuriating. They mentioned the percentage of the American people that were behind this legislation at least a half a dozen times, maybe a dozen times or more. And each time, I think the number was different every time somebody used it. 79% of America's behind this. 81% of America's behind this. 87% of America's behind this. And you're like, okay, you can't, if you're going to fabricate a number, you can't at least be cohesive with the number you're fabricating, because, we all know how that's derived. That's derived through their office, and they contact the pollster, and the pollster does a study to get whatever type of number they need. That's just the way that polls work. So they were pushing that, and that was really frustrating. And then to dismiss so many other things as oh, well, we'll just, we've handled that in the language. They were like, hey, you're not specific with defining this or defining that. And in the wake of the whole bump stock thing, where they go in and just arbitrarily change definitions of things, it's really disheartening to see them write legislation that is open ended that allows them to go back. There needs to be, if you, and it's sad that our legislature participates in such nonsense, because if you were to go to court and you were to write up your suit or your defense or whatever it might be, you're required to define all of that. There's definitions that have to be in play. That way it's all very specific, and any legislation should be the same way. Then the other thing that really kind of got my goat today was just the sheer demonization of law-abiding people in this country. We were called mobsters because we like suppressors for some reason, I guess.
Yeah, I love that one.
It just it was ridiculous. It was such a carnival comes to mind. A carnival of fools is what it was. But it was such a carnival that I'm not real sure. Like I said, I'm not real sure that you got people that just absolutely don't pay attention to anything, and then you've got another portion of people that certainly don't pay attention to politicians because they know better. So, is it strategically necessary for them to get up there and act like buffoons? I don't honestly think it is.
Yeah, the comment about the mobsters, and he didn't even mention the hearing protection. He says, they even brought up the silencer ban, all the mobsters, and I was like, did he just say that? I mean, good Lord. There was now Night Strike or Mike. I don't know if you got. I know you, Night Strike you did, but I don't know if you did, Mike. There was a congressman from North Carolina and a congressman from Arizona, and obviously the one from Arizona, she was talking more about the domestic violence aspect and all of that. Right. But the congressman from, I think it was from North Carolina, he did a really good job, I thought. You want to talk about him, Night Strike?
Not really. I really just want to mention that when we were watching this, there was you notice the statistics and the facts that they were trying to point out to everyone, that not a single one of them lined up with each other. They couldn't stick to a single set of statistics from a single source. Their statistics were all over the place, like they were making them up on the spot. Did you notice that?
I will go back to what Mike was saying earlier, and I don't think anything was done made up on the spot. I think that every single word that are in both of these bills have been scrutinized by lawyers for years, and I say years with an S, and the speeches that these congressmen and women had today in front of the 20 people that were there were written by lawyers, and they were written with absolute intent. So for me to sit there and say that they were blatantly just, ignorant about the facts, I think that everything that they said today was said for an absolute reason. So I don't think that they were just throwing willy-nilly stats out there out of their butts. I will say that they were throwing incorrect stats out there on purpose. That's my personal opinion. I might be wrong about that.
I have a hard time believing the 97% of Americans or the 90% of Americans all want more gun restrictions. I don't believe they were right in that statistic.
You have to understand that they could have a poll that says 97% of Americans want it. They could literally poll 100 of their very liberal anti-gun constituents, and 97 of them said yes, and that is a poll that they could use for statistics. I think that obviously 97% of all Americans do not want gun control, because there is more than 3% of the population that are younger than 10 years old that doesn't even know what the hell they're talking about. So obviously that number is skewed and wrong, but you can really honestly do a poll and make it look any way you want. Once again, you're talking about people that don't care if they're called on the facts. they're putting things out there, information out there, so that if 1 or 2 or 3 people hear it, they're going to go, holy cow, is that right? 97%. Well, then I must, you know, I must be different. So I want gun control also, because I don't want to be left behind. So I don't think there's anything that happens in Washington, D.C. by accident. They're way too good at this. Way too good at this. That's just my opinion.
It's just, you know, while that might be 90% of their constituents, and I mean their constituents, but it may not be representative of, you know, 90% of the population.
Well, I'll say that 97% of the Democratic Party in the House of Representatives sponsored this bill, so you could use that. You know,
yeah, I mean, you're right on that one.
You know, I mean, so there's it's a lot of things. Let's see here.
That's all I had to say on that, because it's just it boggles the mind, because I went and tried to find some of those statistics. I couldn't find it.
Yeah. Mike, I want to bring you back in here. And did you happen to watch anything yesterday, today that was live?
No, I didn't see anything. No, I didn't see anything. I heard somebody, it was a female talking over the radio. They was talking about it like on a commercial, like on the radio station I was listening to. And whatever was said, it didn't make any sense. And it just went back into that whole ploy of, okay, people are just talking and they're not even fact checking anymore. You know, so the more they talk, they try to make themselves sound good. But it goes back into that whole play of, because you say it, everybody has to believe it. You know, so it's getting crazy. It's really getting crazy.
I'm trying to see. I've sent Carrie a link and she's been texting me, but I don't know. If you need another link, let me know. I'm trying to get her in here. I'm sure she would make for some great entertainment on this one. She's always fun to be around anyways. Let's go back and let's talk about one more thing that's about H.R. 8, because this is one of those that people were talking about last night, and questions have come up in today's chat as well about being able to lend a gun to a friend to go hunting or go to the range or whatever. And from what I understand of the text of the bill is if you are in immediate proximity of that gun, obviously someone can, but I think that the way they're wording this, and I can't remember the exact wording that they put it, but out of immediate danger or something like that, or immediate something, that basically if you're not with that gun, then you can't even let someone, hey, can I borrow that to go hunting this weekend? Or can I take that to the range and let my wife shoot that and see if she wants to buy it? The way that this bill reads is that would have to go through a transfer. So what's really scary about this is there are going to be a lot of, and ironically, they said this is trying to clear up a lot of loopholes. They kept saying the gun show loophole. They kept saying the private sale loophole. And the loophole, and there must be a word that they have pulled and they have targeted to make this sound something like what it is. So what I was going to try to bring Clover back in here and say is, by not allowing someone to test a gun or to borrow a gun, what if I was to go to a range now and you had a gun that my wife wanted to borrow, and then all of a sudden, hello. I'm going to mute you for a second, Carrie. If you go to, I even lost my train of thought. Oh, okay, here we go. If we're at a range and you've got a gun that I want my wife to shoot or whatever, and then you have to go, you could literally be charged with an illegal transfer if you happen to leave and my wife kept that gun to shoot, even though we were planning on returning it that night. So what I'm saying is there are a lot more things involved in these bills. And we talked about it last night as well on the 3 to 10 day waiting period. Basically, this has turned into a national 10-day waiting, or a possible 10-day waiting period for any transaction. So I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on, is there more behind the scenes to these bills, or are you reading these as black and white of what they're saying? Uh-oh. He might be having issues. All right, so let's welcome Carrie in here. Maybe he'll get internet, will come back. Carrie, what, you need to unmute yourself, but what's going on? You are still mute. I'll unmute you. No, I can't unmute you. You got to unmute yourself. Push the microphone. There you go. You're back. What's going on?
I want to know how it is that you can mute me, but you can't unmute me. I'm not sure how that exactly works. So, I just kind of came into this
power, you know.
I'll make a note of that.
Right.
So I have been busy and I have not been paying specific attention exactly, but I feel like I caught the gist of what's going on with this. And I had to hop on because I got a little pissed. First of all, I don't like being censored. So I don't like that YouTube is doing that. And that's going to be a whole rant coming. But for those of you that know me, but
that'll be an interesting rant.
It's completely censored. So if I'm understanding correctly, so they were having a big conversation about domestic violence and how they need to keep guns away from domestic violence victims. Is that part of what happened today with that?
Well, basically what happened there was a congresswoman from Arizona that I don't know if G knows much about her or not, but she
I can get information on that. Go ahead.
She's a domestic violence victim and was talking about what if you have someone who is involved in domestic violence and they are not allowed or they don't have the means to go and purchase their own gun. But yet one of their good friends knows that this person's getting the crap beat out of them every night. And they say, here's a gun, defend yourself. Now it's against the law, or it could be, if this goes through, it could be against the law. And now they're saying, so now it's unconstitutional because you're not allowing our citizens to be able to defend themselves.
Well, as you know, that's one of my big rants and big activist pieces with that. So my first question would be, what is putting this DV victim in a position for this hypothetical situation that this woman is presenting? What legislation is already in place that needs to be addressed that is creating a situation where this DV victim can't get to a gun? Is it just logistics, or are we talking actual legal reasons that she can't get to one? What would be the reason? So that would be the first thing. If it's something like a red flag law, was she, does she have some mental illness on her record that they pulled it? Because that would be the civil lawsuit, the unconstitutional lawsuit or something with that. So if it's simply from logistics, it's a matter of there are networks out there. I may or may not know about them. Feel free to contact me about that, for domestic violence victims who are struggling to get to means to defend themselves if they need to without their, so if it is in fact because their abuser has so much control that they can't get to them, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There are ways around that. But my question, it sounds to me like it was awfully arbitrary as to what she's just kind of throwing out there, well, what if they can't get to her?
She was against this bill, obviously, because she's saying, what if there's a domestic violence victim that has no access, either money or through physical access to a gun, but one of her friends has one, says, good Lord, take care of yourself. Are they both going to be charged now for an illegal transfer? Yeah,
they would be. And it's kind of the similar thing that happened up here in Washington with that whole, where the guns can be taken away from a DV victim because she has mental illness on her record. And, if they're transferred even to her husband and he didn't keep them in safe storage, he can now be charged for a felony as well, because she had access to it to, defend herself. So the whole fundamental concept of it is completely unconstitutional because, I found a case back from, I think it was 1997 or 1999 when I was digging through, and I'll get to that statistic thing in a minute because I know y'all were talking about that because I just spent a ton of time on that recently for a speech that I gave in our Capitol. But there was a case where a woman she had a stalker and she went to buy a gun, and the waiting period was, the 10-day waiting period for Brady Bill. And she looked at them at the gun store and she said, I'm going to be dead by then, and went onto the black market and bought a gun and ended up having to use it and had to kill him because he broke into her house and so on. But so they ended up dropping the charges against her because it ended up being, for purchasing a firearm on the black market was how the case ended up. And you can send me a message if you want. I don't remember what state it was in. My guess is probably a gun-friendly state, most likely. But so they ended up not charging her because it ended up being a life or death situation. Now, a woman should never be put in that position to begin with, and should be able to have access to that firearm no matter how she needs to get a hold of it personally. As far as statistics go, I know that I heard earlier as my connection was kind of jumping in and out, that they were throwing statistics out about domestic violence victims on that was I mistaken?
What's that now?
Was there statistics being thrown out about domestic violence victims and gun?
No, the statistics that they were throwing out there were gun violence, gun deaths, gun crimes, statistics that are
now,
terrible. Go ahead.
Now, with that said, there was a portion that was discussed and I forgot the organization that was behind this bill, but there was some organization dealing with domestic violence that was behind this bill that said that that firearms have no positive effect for domestic violence or something like that. It's worse to have firearms in the capacity of domestic violence.
Yeah, that's every town, I believe, is kind of partially behind that and that mom's gun sense thing or whatever. But there was Mike, I'll have to look at that in a second. There was what I came to discover when I was doing my research is there's, and what's not a coincidence is that Google is actually set up. So when you Google, and I even through DuckDuckGo, every time that I would, do domestic violence statistics and with guns and trying to find all different keywords and ways to find that in ways that a gun in the home actually benefited a domestic violence victim, they all kept redirecting me back to how they're bad, which is the statistic is that a domestic violence victim is 5 times more likely to die if there is a gun in the home, if she's not. But there has never been any formally compiled data on the Pro-2A side supporting how many domestic violence victims have actually been saved because they in fact had access. So I contacted FPC about that and, figured if anybody, and Cheryl Todd sent me to John Lawton. He didn't even there was nothing through anything that he had. But I thought maybe if anything, FPC might have a resource for me on something like that. And they said, as far as they know, that there was nothing available and that the, expense to compile that kind of data is so expensive that there's never been anybody, to step up on the Pro-2A side and do it. But of course, every town is funded by, y'all know how this all works, right? All this backwoods stuff. So that's why there's all those statistics on that side, but there's nothing that's been formally compiled as data on the other side to show how many domestic violence victims have in fact had their lives saved because there's been access to or a gun in the home, unfortunately.
All right, well,
sorry, y'all pushed my button with that. I had to fly on for that.
No, you're good. That's why I wanted you on. Kinky.
Oh, thank you,
Kinky Sphincter out there. Lovely name.
I get censored, but that crap doesn't get censored.
That's his name. I have to read his name.
I'm changing my name.
Yeah, Kinky Sphincter sends a super
Sparkle
chat out there. It says,
I'm changing my name to Sparkle.
Hold on. He's saying that he's glad that you're on our side. We need more women like you here. So
thank you.
Giving you a compliment.
Thank you. Thanks, Sphincter.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right. So let's kind of start transitioning on to what we can do because Heavy over on the Gun Channel. So I was asking if it got voted on today. It got voted to be accepted as, especially HR 145, which is now the combination of the two, got voted on to be accepted as a bill. And I still haven't been able to find it, but I swear that I heard one of them talking during the debate that this will be voted on tomorrow. And I'm almost positive I heard them say that a couple different times. So I'm going to say that right now that I'm going to go with they're voting on this bill on the House floor tomorrow. So be careful. Make sure that you get out there to Firearms Policy Coalition and go to the Take Action tab. And you can go and they've got a preset standardized letter that you can email the congressman, congresswoman, and all of that. Gun Owners of America also have a preset kind of template that you can send to your representatives. If you don't like that, and I think, was it Clover, were you saying that may not want to do the copy and pasting because that's what hurt us in the bump stock? Is that what you were saying?
That was one thing that I seen through the bump stock comment period or whatever there, that I don't know that it didn't hurt us, because the whole form letter thing is so doggone unoriginal, and it's almost like they just compile that. It's like, okay, we got 10,000 of these form letters. Well, was that a bot that did it, or was it, just this organization just pumping out things, filled in with their email list, or so it's always better. I mean, use their form letter, read through that, and then write a paragraph in your own words. It doesn't have to be this super long, elaborate thing, because honestly, they're not going to read all of that, most likely anyway. So, just a 4 or 5 sentence paragraph, just a summary of whatever GOA or whoever's putting out there, or even better yet, how you feel, put it in your own words.
Yeah, and exactly, and if you need help, then obviously you can go over to the FPC, or it's firearmspolicy.org, or the GOA's website, and copy what their form email would be, paste it over into your email, and then just kind of use that as a template and rewrite it in your own words, but at least have an idea of what you should say, and then delete the original form letter. But I think that you're right. I think that it is going to be very much important. Obviously, we need to get there, call and email as much as we can in the next 24 hours. But yeah, let's try to make it a little more personal to your representatives. If they know, honest to God, they're going to know what the FPC and the GOA's form emails are going to look like. Especially if they're on the other side, they're not going to look at forms. But if you have a well-written, well-thought-out email, whether read it or not, I don't know, but there's a better chance of them reading that than some form email. But I'm not saying don't use firearm policy. I'm not saying don't use GOA, but you might want to just use those as a template to what you could say and make it your own words. So let's kind of start talking about what we can do, not just in the next 24 hours, but in the next, till the 2020 elections. And I know, G, you were talking earlier about using this as practice. So when you say we need to use this as practice, can you maybe expand on that and what you mean by, for someone out there that is just getting into the fight that might want to know what it is we can do?
Practice for the Civil War. It's coming.
Crap.
So you're talking about stockpiling ammo.
Yep,
burying weapons in the ground at strategic points.
There's no time to bury. If you need to bury, then it's time to use them. So that's
all right.
So since when did me and G switch places?
That's how you know it's messed up. So 2 things to what you're talking about before, though.
Yeah, sure.
If you don't like the boilerplate concept, then do a show. Use that as an opportunity to get people together and collaborate on what to write. And you'll get different people's point of views, and you might get something different. Everybody will come up with their own thing, and then it gives you an excuse to do something on one of these social platforms, and that gets the reach even bigger, right? And then I don't disagree with what Clover's saying there. However, I encourage people to take some time and write something that's either very descriptive or very personal or very, unique, because you never know when they're going to use something as an example. I'm sure they have some staff at some point. You don't know what's going on. You can assume what's going on in government, but if they are reading these, and I'm sure they do, then you never know which one they're going to use as an example. And what does it cost really to send a letter or write something to a representative?
Right.
If you don't believe in the system, then yes, the system will fail. If you don't participate, it will fail. But sorry, what was the question?
I was basically saying, when you were talking about earlier, you mentioned we need to start practicing and use this as practice for the next fight. And I was saying there's a lot of people out there that might be not new to guns, but new to being activists and not really knowing what to do. And you said earlier, what can we do to make this practice? Or, how is this going to be something that could set up a bigger fight down the road? And I'm not talking Civil War fight.
Yeah. So look at yourself and think about how you're answering Clover or Ghost's question right there. And if you're blowing it off and your eyes are rolling, then I don't know, flip something else on. Go watch something that's going to entertain you. But if you're seriously thinking about it, then get some resolve to do it. Think about what you've done in the past. If you've done something that's successful, share it. Try duplicating it. Get other people involved with it. If you haven't, then reach out to groups or people that are interested. And offer yourself as a resource, and what are we going to use this as an example? I think you got to, number one, not get discouraged. Do something or participate in something. The people that are participating in this right now, 44 people are watching, 32 people have thumbed it up. I don't know how many people have taken the URL and shared it to other platforms, but that's something that doesn't take any cost. It can be done while we're experiencing it, and you get practice in sharing Pro 2A stuff. So that's some of the basic stuff. You can either, again, think to yourself, are you doing that right now? Have you done it? I know 34 people have done it, but there's about 14 that haven't. 2 people decided, fuck you, this place is, oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to swear in here.
I don't care.
This is not valid. 2 people have said, this is not valid. I am going to participate by saying, screw this exercise in free speech. And these people shouldn't be wasting our time. They should be entertaining us, or they should be pessimistic, or they should be worried about the Civil War. So do something. That's how we use this as an exercise. Be part of it. I know we're preaching to the choir, but hopefully other people will see this or get a little blurb from it and get excited and get inspired, right? Do something.
Well, I think a lot of that also is we don't always have to agree, you know, and that's the one thing that we can understand.
If we all agreed.
What's that?
I'd be scared poopless if we all agreed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I have if you don't mind, I want to add something to that, because I think that sometimes we often forget that, you know, I mentioned this a few times in some stuff that I was doing the other day. We forget where the power is. And I think I've mentioned this on your show before too, Ghost, is that we are the ones where gun control legislation starts. It's us that it starts with. It doesn't start with the legislators. It starts with us. It starts in our homes. It starts with us having conversations with our neighbors and in our friends at church, or if that's your thing, or whatever, your coffee shop, because we are the ones that vote for these people that go there and make these decisions. And you're not going to preach, like he said, you're preaching the choir here, right? This is like an echo chamber. You're not going to go on your Instagram and change people's mind. Well, I mean, that's not true. I suppose you could, but overall, you're not going to. You're going to change people's minds one at a time as you sit and have a conversation with them, as you don't argue with them. You engage them when they have questions. You answer their questions and not try to beat it into them, so that you create a dialogue with them, so that when there's the next question they have, they're going to come to you and they're going to come to you. I worked on a woman for 2 years. I put a gun in her hand for the first time last Monday, and she wants to go to the range. Never had a gun in her hand in her life, but it took me 2 years. And so we have to change our paradigm about how we're approaching this. And because we're coming at it like this, they're coming at it like this, and it's not working, and they've got more money and they're better organized. So we have to remember that, again, we get pissed at the legislation, and I get it, because I'm definitely mad at them for it. But we have to start working on that literal grassroots level to get these people to start changing who they're voting for. And it's not going to start at your national level. It's going to start at your state level. It's going to start with your state representatives. Those are the easiest ones to change. So you need to start with them. Then you go to your state Congress people. Then you start working, because then the pressure starts hitting at that federal level. So that's the paradigm needs to change about how we're approaching this. And I mean, definitely send those letters to your Congress and stuff, but send them to your local, and then start rallying your friends around you in your community to change who your representatives are in your state.
Good stuff. Night Strike, do you have anything you want to add to this?
It's right now, the situation, it's not good. It's not looking good with these bills. But again, you know, I'm
gonna start calling you Captain Obvious.
Yeah, well, yeah, no. But remember,
did you say Captain Optimist?
No, obvious. He's not optimistic at all.
Oh, sorry about that. But remember, they're getting it through the House because they have more numbers in the House, but they don't necessarily have enough numbers to get it through the Senate. And maybe we can stop it, you know, at the Senate level if it gets to the Senate. And I'm just saying, so let's try and be a little bit optimistic here, not too much, but, you know, let's not say this is like the end of the world, okay?
Holy cow! So I'm speechless. I'm speechless. Usually, I'm the one who's saying the boogeyman's not coming. Let's stay optimistic and all that. And you're the one who shall not be infringed. I'm going to go unbury my guns and get my shotgun because I can't hit anything with a regular gun. So,
oh, come on.
So now you're being optimistic. This is a nice trick that I'm not aware of. So welcome to the party. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you know, since G-Webs is stealing my thunder with the Civil War, so you know, obviously, you know, I have to be, you know, I have to show some, you know.
I just gotta say there, if you need to wink at us and let us know that you're okay. If you can't say it, let us know if you're okay. Whatever your safe word is, you can use it. You know. No, and I think it's an interesting point that you bring up, because I've said this a while. I don't think that it will pass the Senate. I don't think that even if it does pass the Senate, I'm fairly certain that Trump won't sign it. And if he does, I sure as hell don't think they have the 2/3 majority to override that. The unfortunate thing about Trump, and Artisan Tony and Clover are having a little nice discussion out there. But Tony's bringing up, Trump being a wild card at times, and he is. And that's what worries me, is I hope it doesn't go to the Oval Office, because if it does, it's not like we have a starch Second Amendment president. We have a president that will do whatever is popular at that time. Right. So I hope that we don't have to rely on Trump saying, hopefully it does not pass the Senate, which I don't think it will. But but you have to be prepared for that. And you have to look at the whole judicial system also. Is if it does go to the Senate and it passes, Trump does sign it, or Trump vetoes it and they happen to find 2/3 majority to override the veto, we still have a Supreme Court that, as of right now, from what we can gather, we don't know yet because they still haven't, seen their first Second Amendment case is coming, but we tend to believe that they lean towards a more conservative pro-Second Amendment stance.
They're a little more receptive.
There's a lot of things that are going to have to happen.
Yeah.
But what we need to start doing right away is, like Carrie and everyone was saying, is start locally, making sure that not just under the federal level, but the state level and your municipality level, your county level, whatever, understand that jobs are going to be up for grabs if they don't start kind of voting the way that you want them to vote. I want to bring Mike in because Mike was talking earlier about a bigger picture. So when we're talking about what can we do, and we're going to talk, let's say, your bigger picture, is it just contacting your representatives? Is it just getting out in the media and trying to do something? Or what would you suggest someone that is wanting to do something but literally has no idea what to do?
All right. So first things first is we all got to get informed. All right. So when you're listening to the media and everybody talk about this, and of course, if they're going against it, what they're trying to do is trying to get you to believe that everybody who is doing a crime with the firearm is going to their local gun store, filling out the paperwork and committing these crimes, which we know is not true. All right. So one reason we know this is because if you go to the FBI, they got the statistics all laid out and everything. All right. So the other thing, what they're doing is they're trying to play on public sympathy. All right. So like the school shootings and all that took place in the past. So now they're trying to rile people up. So you're making an emotional decision, and which goes back into the other format of a lot of people say the NRA is too powerful, but the NRA was the ones that was stopping a lot of stuff that was going on in other lobbyist groups as well, but overall, when you look at it, it takes more than us just to send a tweet, talking amongst friends. We really need to get active. You need to go down to your representative's office in your area, knock on the door, and start talking and start letting people know why you're not going to tolerate the nonsense. Because if you don't get active and you're just sitting on the couch complaining, nobody else is going to take that footstep forward, and then everything is lost.
I got something to ask the panel, and this is something that we're talking big picture here. We're talking national politics, not just Second Amendment. And here's a question for you. And I'm going to let everyone answer this, and you don't have to go in order. You can start talking if you want. But would Trump trade Second Amendment legislation for a wall?
Yes.
That's a legitimate question.
I say yes.
In a minute. We'd love to.
That's scary, isn't it? That's what's he just got $1.4 billion in this last emergency thing to get part of the wall funded. In order to get the other part, I'm not convinced he wouldn't trade a couple of these amendments, a couple of these resolutions to get his wall paid for.
Well,
and
they're
that,
trying to kill this national emergency.
That's why I'm saying, hold on.
I'm going to be the dissenter here.
Well, just one second.
Yeah.
That's why I worry about Trump being a wild card. Is I don't think that he's anti-gun, but I think he will do whatever it takes to get his agenda taken care of. So go ahead, Carrie.
So long before he had political aspirations, I had done quite a bit of reading in his books and stuff. He just business model wise, because I'm a business owner and stuff, and he kind of fascinates me. So here's the thing about him. Do I think that he could? Yes. However, he is a sneaky bastard. And I don't see him doing it. And I do agree that he is that wild card. Like, he is definitely an unstable dude with like decisions that he makes and stuff. But he's not stupid. I'm not a fan of him, but there's one thing about him. He is not stupid, and he knows who voted him in. And the Second Amendment people voted him in. And if he wants that second term, I think if it presented itself as though he were trading Second Amendment legislation for a wall, it's because he has a card in his pocket, something that he's done on the backside of it. And I couldn't tell you, I wouldn't know what that is or whatever, but he's done that. We've watched him do that with several things, with North Korea. He's done it with China with the negotiations and stuff. So I'm going to be a little bit of the voice of dissent on that. I'm not saying I don't completely disagree with y'all. I'm just saying that I think that he would think about that before he did it, and he would have something in that pocket that he'd pull out and then drop it on him. Because he did that actually, with the whole, if you guys remember, he did that with when they said that with the budget, and the whole budget issue initially was he got, Mattis to say, yes, the border security is a matter of national security, and he was going to fund it through the military when they approved the military budget. So this wall is going up regardless.
That's the problem that he was having, though, is it wasn't going to be officially funded. That's where it gets interesting, because he was going to pull funds from an already approved budget, and that's where it got really interesting. So,
those prototype walls are already going up. My husband ran that security for him when he came down to San Diego. Those prototype walls were started last summer.
Yeah. Now, G brings up a good point up there. Why hasn't he already pissed off this 2A community?
He has.
That's kind of where I was going. Is I'm not so sure that he absolutely thinks he needs a 2A community to get reelected. I think in his biggest campaign promise was the wall, and if he sees a way to get his wall, I think he would pretty much trade anything at this point. And I'm not saying that he will. I'm saying that there's a chance that he would trade anything to get that wall taken care of. And I think that the Democrats know that. G, were you going to say something?
Nope. Sorry.
Oh, no. Okay. I thought I heard somebody saying something. Nice Strike, you were going to jump in earlier. Did I cut you off? So what were you going to bring up?
I was just going to mention, go back, a few hours ago and point out that, we're worried about this, but when we were watching it, how the Republicans were voting, and I know not all Republicans are pro Second Amendment. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of them that aren't. There are some that are. There are quite a few that are, though. But that's not their only area. But what I'm getting at is the fact is, if you look at how the Republicans voted straight down the line in the House, if that is any indication of what the Senate is going to do, I don't think the Republicans are going to let that.
Now, understand, though, that this vote today was not on the bill itself.
Yeah, it was just for a resolution to merge the two and agree on it.
It was to accept the fact that they're merging the two to send it to the floor to a vote. Now, tomorrow's vote will be probably a little bit more indicative of what the Senate will do, because whenever I think it's going to be tomorrow. Let's say it's tomorrow just for argument's sake. If it comes out tomorrow on the vote, we know there are 5 Republicans that are co-sponsored on the House side. So we have to assume there's going to be at least 5 votes in the yay that are Republican.
Exactly.
But if you remember, there are also a couple Democrats that voted nay today on the resolution. So, I still think that it's going to pass the House. But, just because they voted for the resolution today doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to vote down party lines tomorrow. I think we have to understand that this is probably going to very easily pass the House. What we've got to worry about is now the Senate, and there is the Senate bill. If you want to kind of get an idea of what's going on the Senate side, remember there is a conjuncting Senate Bill 42, I believe is the number, and that is the Senate bill of this. And if you want to go and look up Senate Bill 42 and see what it's happening in the committees and all that in the Senate side, that will give you a possible indication of what's going to happen on the Senate side as well, which is right now is nothing. So understand that it's got to go through both houses of Congress, got to go to the Oval Office and either vetoed or get signed, and then possibly the Supreme Court. One thing we want to talk about real quick on the bump stock that happened today, I think, wasn't it, G, that the firearms policy injunction got denied? Was that today that it came out that it got denied, or yesterday? Do you remember? Uh-oh.
Can you explain what that was about and what actually took place? A little background.
All right, so the bump stock was supposed to go. The bump stock ban goes into effect March 24th. You have the GOA; they filed an injunction, and the FPC filed an injunction. And basically, what that was saying is we want to stop the actual enforcement of this law until we make sure that it's going to be constitutional or not. They don't want people to start getting rid of their bump stocks now, and then 2 months down the road, the Supreme Court hears it. It says it's unconstitutional or whatever. The ATF changes their mind on the regulation or whatever. And then these people have gotten rid of their bump stocks for no reason. So GOA and FPC put out an injunction to basically say, we're going to try to stop this from being enforced on March 24th. The Ohio court denied the FPC injunction case. Now, the GOA injunction is still out there. Okay. So there's still, I believe there's still a stay right now until a GOA is either denied or heard. But the FPC injunction got denied. I want to say it was today. It might have been yesterday, but up in Ohio. And basically what that is saying is in Ohio, they said that the FPC does not have grounds to stop this from happening for whatever reason. And they don't, I haven't read the decision yet. It might be the way it was worded. It might have been, who knows? But at least the GOA's got an injunction out there still, and it hasn't been decided if they're going to hear it or deny it right now. But the FPC's was denied. I think it was today or yesterday, but it was brought up today that I heard someone, I think it was G's chat. And so that's kind of what that is. So there is still a lot of stuff going on with the ATF regulation of the bump stock. We obviously have HR 145 that I believe is going to vote tomorrow. We have a lot of things. Remember, as soon as the midterms were over, Pelosi came out and said that gun control is one of their top priorities. And we all know they probably got 50 to 100 bills that have been sitting in a desk drawer just waiting to have control of the House. So if you think that these are the only two that are coming, you're crazy. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we can always email, we can always call. But I think the most important thing we need to do is we all have to stay up and current on bills that are being brought up to the House and the Senate. You have to figure out what bills have been filed, where they are in committee, read them. And please don't take my word or anyone on this panel's word of what a bill is saying. Go read the bill on congress.gov. And if you know the bill number, just hit HR 8 or HR 145, and it'll pull it up and it'll give you a tab that says text. And it'll give you the exact text of that bill. Read it. Please educate yourself on these bills. Don't take our word for it. Don't take anybody's word for it. Educate yourself and read the text of every single one of these bills if you want to know what's going on. And then, like G said, and talk to your congressman, talk to your senators, talk to anyone you can. Do a video, do your own podcast, make your own posts on Facebook or Instagram. Anything we can do. And the biggest thing we can do is to make sure that Congress knows that we're not turning a blind eye. We know what's going on. We're staying on top of it, and we're educating ourselves, because the last thing we want to do is make an argument to one of our congressmen without the facts and sound like an idiot. If you're going to write your congressman, you're going to call them or see them face to face, please, before you do that, educate yourself from the facts of that particular bill and the consequences of that bill before you do that. Let's start running it through the room. I know that Night Strike's got to go take care of his show, so I'm going to let you go first, Night Strike. So you have any more comments that you want to make, say what you got to say, and then go ahead and plug what you want to plug.
I'm saying I'm staying optimistic this time. I'm not going to go, Mr. I'm not going to be the realist or Mr. Pessimist. We need, 1 million more people exactly like stilettos and shotguns. We need to fight everything we can. Do not let them get one more inch. Call your senators, write them, hell, harass them if you need to. But we need to make sure that our voice gets heard and we stop every single one of these bills that pops up this year. Because if we don't, next year is going to be much worse.
Okay, so Gunlow and Grandpa Stanley has a great question. He says, what happens if you already have a CCW? And, in Arkansas, if you have your concealed carry permit, you don't have to go through the background check because that acts as a background check. You still have to wait 10 days. The 10 days it's not a 10-day waiting period. What they're saying is on all transfers, you have to do a universal background check. So the answer is, in the state of Arkansas, Buck, when we go to a gun shop and we give them our concealed carry license, they don't have to call the FBI for a background check. This is going to negate that. So now everyone's going to have to go through that background check. Your concealed carry permit is no longer going to act as your background check. Now, the answer to the 10 days is saying that's the other part of HR 1112. What it's saying is if the FBI does not answer that phone call on the background check, the old law says if you don't get a response from the FBI in 3 days, that transaction goes through. What they're saying now is we want to extend that from 3 days to 10 days. So basically what they're saying is that you go in to buy a gun and it's a backdoor 10-day waiting period. You go do your background check. The FBI doesn't have to answer that phone for 10 days, basically. So that's where the 10 days comes in. It's not a mandatory 10 days, but it's a very possible 10-day waiting period to get a gun. So that's what it is. And I'm sorry for jumping in and clarifying that, but it's a good question. Go ahead.
No, and here's the thing. That's on top of whatever a state has already in place. So they could use that as a bureaucratic way to get the 4473 to expire.
It's 10 business days. It's 10 business days.
Yeah, and therefore bar someone from being able to buy or transfer another firearm.
Yeah.
But again, yeah, we're going to continue this conversation on Hit or Miss tonight on my channel on YouTube, Night Strike 1. So if anyone here wants to jump in, you're more than welcome to. But again, just check that out. Check GunTube.org out. That's my video sharing platform that is 2A friendly. And with that, I will see you guys later. You have a good one.
Thanks, bud. Michael out there says, what happens if these bills pass, but states pass constitutional carry? This has nothing to do with concealed carry or constitutional carry whatsoever. So your right to carry, whether it's through a permit or constitutional, is not going to be affected by either one of these bills officially. These are having to do with purchasing, transferring weapons, and the background checks that go in with that. It has nothing to do with carrying per se. So if you're worried about that, that's a whole separate issue. But that will the only thing that's going to change with your carry permit is if your state, like I said, in Arkansas, we don't have to actually call the FBI if you have a concealed carry permit. Your permit acts as your background check. That's going to be gone at this point. So anyway, so sorry about that. Carrie, what say you? What you have any last second?
I always got something to say. You know that.
You always have something to say. I don't know if it's relevant or not, but I'm just kidding.
But if it's not relevant, it's funny, and you're still sticking around for it, ain't you?
Well, I had to stay here just my show. So I'm here no matter what. I guess I could leave, couldn't I? No, what you got going on? Talk to me, girl.
Well, I mean, it's, that's just my big thing is trying to get people to realize, I'm newer to this community is for those of you that know me, and that's one of the biggest things that I see that's a problem in this 2A community is everybody's all kind of fired up to bitch on their social media or to each other or pull that, that card that come and take it and shall not be a French card. But first of all, the reality is yes, they can do it. That's bottom line. Second is there's some sort of disconnect with realizing that the change has got to be made at that grassroots level, because we have to change. We have to remember that no matter how much programming is done to us by the government and media telling us that these people are our leaders, they are not our leaders. And apparently AOC just missed that when she told us we were sitting in the cheap seats because they were in control. That pissed me off. They work for us. And they work for you, and they work for everybody that is voting for them. So we need to take back that control, and we need to start it at our local levels and start thinking. When you start thinking small, that tidal wave, that wave will get bigger, right? Throwing the rock in the water, and it'll get bigger. So that's my big thing. Just so you know, too, I finally have been, I think, succumbed to starting a YouTube channel.
We put your link out there.
So, did you? Yeah. So I finally have the account, but I think I'm going to start probably actually producing content.
That'll be good. That'll be good.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's that. But
these are some great questions, and I'm sorry, but we're gonna continue to answer some questions if you guys don't mind. Michael out there says, "What's going to happen when local municipalities refuse to enforce these laws?" It has nothing to do with local municipalities. Once again, we're talking about these specific laws. If you're talking about these specific bills that could become law, this has nothing to do with city, county, or whatever. This has to do with how FFLs are going to have to do business. And that's a federal firearms license. Now, if you're talking about private sales or whatever, I'm not going to speak to that. But if you're talking about how FFLs, this is going to plainly tell the FFLs how they have to do business. So I don't think the municipalities are going to have a whole hell of a lot to do with this. Anybody else have any comments on that question right there? G or Clover or Mike?
On
what if the municipalities enforce these laws?
So something I don't want to interrupt anybody else because I got a mouth and I'll keep going. But we just had an interesting. No. I just don't want to interrupt anybody. We just had an incident here where, I'm up here in Washington State where 1639 passed, and we've got now, I think we're up to like 20. Last I looked, up to 20 counties that the sheriffs are like, we're not enforcing it. So here's an interesting tidbit that people remember when I was talking about like government and we the people are in control. So our governor Jay Inslee puts out this giant letter, talking about how horrible this is, that they're not enforcing this, and this is terrible. Y'all can listen to my cat because it's dinner time and she's crying for it. But and how horrible it is, and that we need to make sure that we're taking a stand and telling these sheriffs that they can't arbitrarily enforce what laws they want to enforce in this. And he had a petition for people to sign to present to these people. So we have a governor who is the head of this state, Washington State, who is in a position to enforce law, but he knows that he's unconstitutional because not only does that law, is it a federal, it's federally unconstitutional, it actually is also by our state constitution. And so he's asking for the people's support to try to make this happen. So, right, this is a guy that can say, yo, you need to do this, but he's not, and people are missing that. They're disconnecting the fact that he actually knows that he's trying to force an unconstitutional law, and so he's trying to get the support of the people through a petition, because otherwise he could just, tell them they have to enforce it. So people are kind of missing that. So when it comes to the municipalities not enforcing it, I don't think that states really, state leaders, I think they know. I think they know that there's nothing they can do about it because they're still trying to garner support. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think that especially at the state level of legislation, and in Washington State, you've got a bunch of sheriffs that have basically said that they are not going to enforce a lot of these laws. It comes down to a little bit differently, and this specific thing is if it becomes a federal background check and all that. Like I said, that's an FFL thing, and the FFLs aren't going to really have any choice. What's going to be interesting as far as enforcement is private sales. What if you have a private sale and you get caught by a local popo? That could be really interesting. So I'm not going to speak for any local law enforcement. Obviously, that's a federal crime, a felony if you get caught with a private sale, if this goes through. But depends on where you live. I always have to say it depends on where you live, and if your sheriff's department or your county judge or your local prosecutor, if they're pro-gun or anti-gun, they're going to decide they're going to press charges or not, or if they're going to write you a ticket, because if you get charged, that's a felony if this goes through. So we can go on that discussion forever, but let's go on to Mike. Mike, do you have anything that you want to add in this discussion? And then go ahead and plug. Before we go, you didn't say your name on YouTube. Her YouTube channel is Stilettos and Shotguns.
My Instagram is Instagram, and I now have a Facebook for that too. Yeah, and then my organization, my nonprofit that actually is a personal defense security for women, that we teach them situational awareness and such, is We the Female.
Yep.
And that website just launched. Actually, just officially have my website launched, wethefemale.net. Should probably remember to tell y'all that.
You might want to go check that out. So
yeah, thank you.
Go check her all out. And Carrie's awesome, and I mean you'll be around here for a long, long time. So thanks for coming on, kid.
Thanks.
Mike, what you got, man?
I'll keep it short tonight, but please call me at 803-250-1256.
He's lonely, people. He needs friends. Please call him. Please call him.
Again, that number is 803-250-1256, or go to www.m-wtactical.com, the one-stop shop where you can check out everything I'm a part of, and a direct link where you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram, or do a search for M-W Tactical to find me. Even a link where you can catch up on the Black Man with the Gun podcast with Ken Blanchard and myself, where you can get your M-W Tactical and Black Man with the Gun swag, also clicking on the store tab. We are also bringing back the LEO training campaign that you can donate.
Are you bringing sexy back? Are you bringing sexy back?
Hey, I have to. So go to gofundme.com/LEO training to put some officers in training for a year at no charge to them or the department. The M-W Tactical channel, where we do various reviews or conversations that we put out every Tuesday on GunStreamer, and GunStreamer. And we now have an M-W Tactical podcast that we're going to put out every Tuesday as well. Go to the link on the website or click on the post that will be posted on the M-W Tactical Facebook page as well, or do a search for your favorite podcast platform and look up the M-W Tactical podcast. But most importantly, click on the link to become a Patreon. Back to you, Ghost.
What's going on, buddy? That was good. That was good. That was quick. I'm still really, really sad that you're begging for people to call you. I mean, it's what it is, but I worry about you, man. You all right? You can always call me. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know that, but you know the one thing,
you're lonely. You've always got a friend in me, man.
Oh yeah. But I talk to my guns. My guns don't talk back. We just
that's a good thing.
Yeah, I just do a lot of dry fire with them, and that's all it is.
You do what with them?
Dry fire. They don't.
Okay, I was just making sure I heard that right.
Yeah. They don't say nothing back to me. They don't even hold me back like I hold them. So you know how it goes sometimes. So just give me a call at 803-250-1256.
G, what you got going on?
There was something I was going to talk about, and I've been over here reading, and I don't even remember what I was going to talk about.
Oh, well,
I think thanks for the topic. I think it's a good one. And again, it's potentially boring, right? And dry, and it's certainly not going to have an instant effect. right? We're not going to yell and scream, and we're not going to see these people come to the light. But by being aware of it and deciding to take time like you're doing right now, and all of our audience is doing, and all of us on the panel are doing, to focus on this, that's given it some attention that it wouldn't normally get, right? And then anybody who does take the challenge or take the idea of slicing up some of that video from earlier today when the actual representatives were discussing this topic and exploring the facets, the things that they said, the justifications they used. I think that we have 20/20 hindsight. We can strategize and use tactics. We can come up with better things to rebut their arguments. We can come up with better ways to give them our position so that they understand it, because they obviously are not. And I think that this is what we, at least for what I create content for, so that when we need to put that information out there that's important, we have the skills and the pipelines to do it. So I thank everyone for giving us the support to be able to do it and the opportunity to be able to do it. And now is the time when we do it. And it's not fun and it's not exciting and there's not going to be prizes at the end, except maybe better resolve at keeping liberty.
And that might be the best prize of all, my friend. And thank you for all that you do. Put out there the Indiegogo link out there a couple different times. I'll put it out there again. We got a little patch batch out there. And do you want to talk about a little bit about that real quick, G, so I don't get it wrong?
Sure. So we're going to attempt to get a bunch of people patches before NRA show. So we have 17, well, it's actually 15, 14 days left. You can get a set of patches. There'll be 12 patches in the set, at least. There might be more, depending on how this what happens. But once we reach the goal, so it'll be all or nothing. There's no obligation unless we reach the goal. But if we reach the goal, or when we reach the goal by March 13th, I guess it is, we will fund a whole bunch of patches that are going to get made and produced before the NRA show, so that everyone who participates will get a set of them. So they'll all get 12 patches shipped to them for free. And then all the organizations that are represented will get whatever the funding is, approximately 100 patches plus each. So there's no fundraising here. It's just an effort to give us an opportunity to collaborate, give us an opportunity to reach each other's audience and be on each other's shows and talk about the project, and in real life get patches created that you all can use to promote your projects or to raise funds or to exchange and share, whatever you want to do. But it's just another way that we as 2A, valid 2A projects and people and organizations can come together and practice, right? Work to that when we need it next year. We've done this before, and we can use the experience that we get doing this to affect real change with politicians or larger pieces of media. Yankees over there yelling right now, corking you. With the whole concept of, what is this whole thing? Is this simply an entertainment platform? Is this simply a method to observe what other people are doing? Or is it the tools? Is that literally the implementation, the technology that allows us to all participate? If you think anybody on this panel is some celebrity, some person who came down from above on some stairway and everything's funded and scripted, then you're not paying attention. So be part of this. And it isn't just sitting behind a microphone. It's certainly not sitting there. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm just sending this out for the others who are going to hear this on the other platforms that you reach out to.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, so grab 12 patches for $50. I think it's a good deal. What's 12? What's 50 divided by 12?
It's about $4 a patch.
$4 a patch shipped. It's a pretty good deal. You're going to get GunStreamer, which is they're going to be their second patch design. You'll get GunTube.org. It'll be their only patch, period. I think I might have sewn a couple for him, but this will be his first production run, his only patches. It'll be Ghost's first, well, no, your second or third production run, but a new patch for Ghost. Clover's third production run. We don't know.
And he's supposedly going to have like this behind Fort Knox barrier patch that no one's going to know about until it comes out.
This will be a surprise design. Yep. We'll have Florida Carrie So the organization that's working for Second Amendment rights at the state level in Florida, we have the 2A Fund, which is Artisan Tony, who's in the chat right now. He has an organization he has a fund where each month he gives out $100+ a fund of money that people contribute to different 2A organizations. Then we have Yankees patch, the first patch I'll be doing in production with Yankee. It'll be that Kool-Aid, the Glock Kool-Aid patch that he's wearing in a t-shirt on some video today. And then it's a really shitty t-shirt from what I understand. Sorry, I'm actually swearing here. And then
you can swear, it's okay.
Never Enough Ammo's first production run. We got Pew Pew Jew. It won't be the logo there. It'll be one of his cartoons or something funny. We've got Gear Report, their logo patch. And then 2A for Everyone, 2A4E. Tony Simon out of New Jersey will also have an Every Second Matters patch. So you got sick of me reading off all those things. That's how many patches you're going to get. You're going to get sick of pulling them out of the envelope. It's going to be so many. You're going to be sending us additional money because it's such a great deal. But you can get in on them. The first 100 sets will have serial numbers or whatever. They'll have the renumbered for collecting purposes. If you jump in on it, you'll still get in on the first 25 or something. I think there's only like 10 gone or something like that right now. So we have a link out there. Use the link that Ghost is posting so that he gets credit for people that watched on his show. Help us share. If you're not interested, you think we're a bunch of jerks, or you just don't have that kind of money, you're not rolling in $50. I'm certainly not. Then help us share the project. These kind of projects work because people share them around to other people who don't care about $50, or they care that much about getting a GunTube patch that they'll pay $50 for one. And that's the way we're going to get hundreds of patches made for all these valid 2A organizations. And thanks for the time.
Awesome. And thanks for everything you do, buddy. I appreciate it. Clover, what's up?
Well, I just want to say that, moving forward, we've got to work on staying positive, and we've got to work on not being lazy. Yeah. And what I mean by not being lazy is a couple of things. I think staying positive is pretty obvious. But the not being lazy, I understand that everybody out there wants to turn on a camera. I understand that you don't want to get on these social medias. I understand. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. But there's a couple of things that I think you need to try to go a little above and beyond. Like we were talking about earlier, anybody can get on and click on, FPC or GOA or whatever, and click and send some random generated letter. Sit down and write your own stuff. Go even above and beyond on email. Somebody out there mentioned that they hand delivered theirs. Let's turn out. Let's let them do something unique. Do something to where they're going to remember that. It's not some type of communication that's just lost in the mix because they get thousands and thousands of those. It's something different. If everybody did that, I think that it could stem the tide a little bit. And then also, when we're talking about how to communicate our positions, it's vital. We get in trouble a lot of times because we get on these panels and we play devil's advocate and everything else. And we're able to do that. Why? Because a lot of us watch the dissenting opinion against whatever ours might be. So we know, like G talks about, we know the ambush points and we know the talking points and we know all of this. So familiarize yourself with that side of things as well. That way, as you're communicating with your representative, be it the city councilman all the way up to a senator, that way you're prepared for any type of comeback or conversation, and you have the right answers for that. And then you don't fall back on that emotional thing to where now they've ambushed you and you're ticked off and you get all emotional about it. And that's all I had to say about that.
That's all I got to say about that. Okay, Forrest. Anything else? You want to plug anything? What's coming up on Firearm Friday this week?
Had you not asked me, I could have told you. TACCOM HQ, which is like extreme long range optics, like 5,000 and 6,000 meter optics. So extreme long range. So it's if you like that sort of thing, if you like long range, then that'll be a good conversation.
That'll be a good conversation, whether you like it or not, whether you like long range or not. Should be fun to hear that. Thanks for coming on. And to kind of piggyback on what you were saying about educating yourself. Once again, the whole thing is kind of going out there in the chat right now about staying calm and staying rational. The last thing we need to do is not be educated and to act all crazy, shall not be infringed. Please do something for me. This is one thing that is my pet peeve. If you're going to go to a rally, please, for the love of all that is holy in this world, do not get kitted up and string an AR-15 over your shoulder. That's not the look that we need at a rally. I'm not saying you had to go in a suit, but I promise you the media is looking for the guy who camis his face up, gets kitted up, and throws on the AR over his shoulder and open carrying 3 different pistols. They're looking for you, and they're not looking for you to make your statement. They're looking for you to exploit the idiocy that we are. So please don't do that. That's just my personal public service announcement. But yes, educate yourself. Please go read these bills. If you plan on engaging in a conversation, make sure it's a civil conversation. At least start out that way. And more importantly, read the bills. If you're not going to read the bills and you're just going to go off of what other people are saying, please don't believe and trust what myself or Clover or G or Mike are saying. We might have it wrong.
Amen.
So go read it for yourself, because how I interpret, I'd be willing to bet that there's something in these bills that the 4 of us in this room right here on this panel interpret differently. So go read it yourself, educate yourself. Please contact your congressman, contact your senators, contact your aldermen, your city councilmen, your governors, everyone. Contact them as much as you can. Educate yourself, spread the word, try to get more people to join you. If there is not a rally in your town, county, or state, start one. Start one. Start at the range. Start getting people that you go shoot with at the range and start talking about maybe if we did a rally, and start forming one, because the more people you get to help you, if it's just one person trying to do a rally, it's never going to work. Try to go and recruit other people to help you. If there's nothing going on in your area, start something up. If you don't have a state rifle or gun association, start one up. It's real simple. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching in replay, thank you so much. Guys, please leave your comments down there. If they're negative, that's fine. I don't mind negative comments. Go ahead and speak your mind. We're not always going to agree, and I love having discussions with people. If I did not get to your question, I will be sending you an email trying to answer those questions in the next 24 hours. So thank you for listening in the podcast form as well. Go check out GunChannels.com. Go check out GunStreamer.com. Go check out our Armed Citizen podcast over on all of your podcast hosting sites. Until next week, guys, we appreciate you guys. Stay strong. Make sure you keep up on the votes tomorrow. Semper Fidelis.